I request our esteemed resource person to take his place on the dais. And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. With this biblical verse, I request all to begin this day with a silent prayer. Thank you. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and do more and become more, you are a leader. I welcome you all to the last day of this National Educators Summit on Transformative School Education through Strategic Integration of Competencies. We are now heading towards the fifth session on the topic, Elevating Educational Leadership, Strategies for Excellence in Schools. Educational leadership, sometimes called teacher leadership, refers to an educational system approach that unites everyone under a common goal and a core of set values. To enlighten us more on this topic, we have amongst us an eminent resource person, Dr. Senethil A. Kumaran. He is a passionate teacher, a catalyst for change, persistent, and a leader for expressiveness, for excellence in all fronts of his work in education sector. I most cordially welcome Sir to this gathering. I request Professor Ramya B. to present a potted plant to Sir as a token of welcome. Now I request Sir to take over the session.
Happy morning to everyone out here. I said happy morning.
Happy morning.
Yeah, so I think it's very important after yesterday's rain. I know that people across the country came and brought rains also for Bangalore. So thank you very much for that. Because we were needing rain in Bangalore, because somebody who has grown up in Bangalore as such, can we have these lights off at least? It's too dim. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I think it was always said, Bangalore has something called as a government rain. I don't know how many of you know this government rain story about Bangalore. Whenever there's a heavy heat or too much of heat around, then evening at 5 o'clock there'll be obviously rain. So many government officials always used to carry umbrella with them in Bangalore. That was once upon a time. And we all used to always believe why people are carrying umbrella when there was no rain as such. But this was a practice which was being actually seen over the years. But with the climate change, I think umbrellas have gone. Suddenly we are getting surprises, and the surprises are not only here. I'm just coming back from Estonia. Yesterday evening I left Estonia, Helsinki, and then back here. And I think even in that part of the world, summers have started and suddenly they had snowfall. So the climate change is visible across the globe. It's not only here, but across the globe. And that's where I said, I think yesterday when I came back, people said, thank you very much coming back to Bangalore and bringing some good weather from Helsinki and Estonia. So that's something which I thought I should share, and thank you all of you also. I don't know why I have been called every time for this particular conference, but every year I get an opportunity to come and basically share some of my thoughts at this beautiful gathering. Being somebody who's been nurtured by CMI fathers all across, right from Father John Morris to Father Anthony Curriel to Father Sebastian, Father Thomas C. Matthew, all of them have been my mentors across when I started my career as a teacher and then kind of moving. And when Father Joskuti was there, I think this was the time when they started this exercise here, and I always got an opportunity to come and share some of my thoughts. And I never knew also one of the reasons that why I've been given always on the last day, first session or last day, last session. That's also, there may be some reason, because somebody told me a strategy, if I have to hold the audience, I think get this fellow at the last, so people will wait for the session. Just on a light, see, somewhere we also need to take credit for whatever we are trying to do. Yes, so thank you very much once again, team Kristu Jayanti. I've been always coming and looking at that board at Father's outside and saying, this is looking like principal, Father When University. So that's something which is my wishes to the team, that this is this is one particular campus which has evolved over the years. I still remember us one block and then how the journey started. And today, every time when I try to, I follow this, this college, how the college has got evolved over the years, but I can say fantastic growth. And thanks to the, the commitment of the priests and the team, because I think the team also requires a lot of effort. And how they are able to do so many events, how they are able to do so many practices, I don't know. But I think it's the team which drives. So there is a leadership and there are people who drive. And for sustained growth, you need a proper baptism to be done for everybody who wants to become a leader. In any institution, irrespective of private, government, anywhere you say, even in our home structure, in our family structures, if we don't have one particular leader, automatically you'll find whatever happens in big family, business families which we are seeing across the globe today. And one of the trend which is also getting very, very visible across the globe is the education. I had the opportunity to meet day for yesterday morning with the Estonian Education Board officials. And when I was talking to them, they have become so aggressive after coming out of Russia in last 20-25 years, the kind of growth that they have done. And I met 3 organizations, Enterprise Estonia, I met EdTech Estonia, I met Education Estonia. Now a small country which is now coming up 7th in PISA ranking, and we are not there in the PISA ranking in 20 years. So that means something is done aggressively in a structured format. There's something called as a structured format. And if we don't have that kind of a structure very clearly been defined, I don't think we are going to move. Maybe we have our own challenges in terms of volume. We have our own structure of, challenges of volume. But every time when I try to go to this country called as Finland, now I started the conversations with Estonia, because again these guys were doing, what are they trying to do? Kar kya rahe hain? We really need to go and find out from them. But when I personally went and signed for India for PISA for schools, representing private schools in India, I had the opportunity to actually interact with 65 representative countries in that particular conference. And as soon as I entered that particular hall, it's OECD, I think all of you know, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. This is the organization which talks about the happiness index. This is the organization which talks about other aspects, but it was very, very, very interesting. As soon as I entered, people say, here comes India. Here comes India. So I think I was not very comfortable, the way we got the welcome out there, but then we said, okay, fine. But at the closing session, I had to say, in 2028, 2029, when we come back again to the same hall, this is the 10th year, 15th year celebration we would like to host in India. And why don't you guys come to India? We will try to make sure that where we are. Because on those 3 days, I met maximum country representatives and principals of different schools and different boards. And most of them said that they have more than 50% Indian students studying in their schools. And if at all, if they were getting good scores in PISA, it is because of those students who contributed to that particular score. So where did we go wrong? Where did we go wrong? The challenge was, we were not wrong, our students are not wrong. The environment what we have created for students. I think we have become overprotective. We have never given independence. I have certain videos which I can, still I need to transfer it to my laptop. Otherwise I can show it to you that how a 3.5-year-old kid drops what you call milk and water on the table, walks up to the washroom, picks up the tissue, cleans and then dumps it back in an early childhood daycare center in Finland. Somewhere I think we have become overprotective. Even after 25, even at 45 we are still feeding the kid. this was my own reflection probably, and I have taken that as an agenda that surely we will make sure that 2028 and if everything goes on well post-election, by September to December, India first time private schools will take up the assessments in PISA for schools. And there are 100+ schools which have already signed up. We are still open. Why I am saying is that we wanted to, the OECD said not more than 200 for India in the first slot. Because they understand the complexities of India and they said, no, we will surely wait. We are still trying and we would make sure. And sure, I think this is nothing but a movement. I call this as a movement where each one of us actually have to start reflecting, saying that in my campus, how can I bring in change? Higher education, we were talking about competency-based education. Now in schools, we are talking into competency-based education. I don't know what will happen with many of us schools when you will not have a flex banner to put outside your school. What is the academic result in CBSE and ICSE? With the credit kind of a framework coming up, with national credit framework getting into implementation, you are just going to get a pass certificate. Everybody, every 1,200 hours, 75% attendance, you complete, course completion certificate will be given. Now you are left to work on your competencies. And I think that is something which we really need to kind of look at it. And we really need, as leaders in our own campuses, in the area whatever we are working, if we don't start working towards it, I am not very sure how are we going to go back and add value in the communities wherever we are trying to serve. So with that particular note, I think the title was very, very interesting. Elevating Educational Leadership. When this elevating word came in, I remembered this road, NH44, which is basically constructed between Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra over a reserve, tiger reserve forest. And I was actually trying to understand why did they construct something like this. Then I was actually surprised that in Karnataka, we also have one tiger reserve forest. What is that? Bandipur. And what is the problem with Bandipur? Every day we are challenging, after 9 o'clock you can't go, before 9 o'clock you can't go, you are disturbing the habitat. Leadership is something like that. You can't spoil your existing fabric to create a new road. If you create something like this, you are a dictator. You have to coexist with the existing environment, and how do you try to make sure that you are able to move to the next level? Because this is my learning from Dr. J.L. Gupta, former SRCC principal, and Dr. Anil Wilson. Both of them, when in my earlier role, I used to call them for my sessions, and I used to always ask them, what are you guys doing to become always number one in most of the rankings? I loved Dr. Anil's statement. He said, संदिल आप या और कोई भी गधा भी आके इस कुर्सी पे बैठेगा, ये हमेशा फर्स्ट रहेगा. He said a very interesting statement. आप या कोई गधा भी आके बैठेगा. So I was actually thinking, मेरे को गधे से compare, आपको नहीं compare कर रहा मैं. But then he said, आप या कोई भी गधा. That means what? He said a very important point. Our systems and processes are so strong. A. B. We have another booth which is called as DUTA, Delhi University Teachers Association, which doesn't allow any change to happen. And if you try to look at the history of India itself in the NAC assessment process and higher education space, they were one of the last university, I think it was Dr. Pentel, during his time, they were the first people who were able to break that and take it off. So you can't break a existing system to position yourself as a leader and drive change. So you always need some kind of an elevated approach without disturbing the existing culture of your schools or your campus. And I think this culture word is used, so much. And for me, I think I just want to put it in a very simple term as doing things or things done by everybody in the campus or in a school or an institution when nobody is seeing. That's what is culture all about. Culture is not when father is coming, I go and pick up the papers on the street, or when sister is coming, I try to go and do that. No, it doesn't work like that. When my principal is seeing, I'm trying to, that's not culture. It is an automated process. In that particular process, I try to do things the way I would like to kind of push it across and then make sure the things doesn't get disturbed. So your campus culture will take minimum 3 academic years to shift. But during this 3 particular academic year, I am sure, now your many schools are on holidays, but not still schools are working. If you're one of the principals, surely some of your staff might have called up, sir, how is the program going on? And some of you, if you have said, bahut acha hai, the problem starts. They are already in your school, they are waiting. Naya kaam kya aane wala hai? They're just waiting. So I always tell the principals, particularly or anybody who attends such workshop, if any one of your teacher asks you a question saying that, how is the workshop going? Just say, okay, it is going on, that's all. No reaction. Right? Otherwise, after reaction, you will be in trouble because people are waiting and they are waiting how to say no to whatever that you are going to initiate. So change is that kind of process. So how do you try to make sure? So with the first point, I think congratulations to them for the 6th edition. 6th or 7th? 6th. 9th edition. Okay, 9th. I think I missed one. So there were only, this is the 8th time that I am here. So congratulations. All ideas, whatever I am giving, this is purely based on our internal research. I may give references somewhere. In some places, I will not give references. And if your school photo comes by mistake, don't think that I am talking negative or positive about your school. I am only trying to give a reference, that's all. It is only for that particular purpose or example. Whatever I may say, please follow the circular given by your affiliating board or the state government. But you should have a perspective that aaj nahi hoga to 3 saal baad zarur hoga. A simple example is saal mein 2 baar board examination. This is what NEP talks about. And we people have defined it so beautifully that improvement examination is a second examination. No. That was not the intent. When I spoke to Chetan Singhai, one of the key architects in the NEP document, when I was talking to him, he said very clearly, nahi saal mein 2 baar karna hai. But we shifted, twisted, turned that for our own convenience. Now, including CBSE made an announcement recently, right, saying that we will have 2 examinations, November and March. Now, November and March they have said, but what portion? No, that is what you are actually doing now in many schools for 10th and 12th. Ma'am, how is it possible to complete? Because when you have decided for 188 days or 220 days the syllabus is designed for, how can you finish it in 6 months? Not possible. Good, all the best, continue. If whatever your board says, continue. Because mark my words today, when the 11th summit happens here, or 12th summit happens, we will have a conversation once again on the same subject. On the same subject, we'll have a conversation whether we are having 2 boards or not, annually 2 boards or not. It will happen. COVID, we did it. It is only the mindset shift what is required. We will also do 50%. It very clearly says 4 papers per semester into 4 years into 2. It is 36 papers which are supposed to be done to do course completion. That is the thought process. But somewhere we are not wanting, because the role of board today is what shoes the schools are prescribing is not the responsibility of a board. No. Board should only give what across the world what they are doing is they should assess and certify. Every education board across the world is only doing assessment and certification of the kids for a skill set. Which is nothing but, if you try to go back and do a little research, you will be able to find out it is nothing but we are moving towards personal certification era. We are moving towards personal certification era. And in personal certification era, there is 17,035 or 37, there is a standard in ISO where that is every individual will be assessed on the competencies. There are global frameworks already available. Only thing is that we are not still willing to kind of, accept that as a point and take it forward. So, while whatever I'll say, please go back and follow by the board. What do you see in this? What do you see in this image? Just say all answers are right, don't worry. Scribbling, okay. Modern art, oh, very good. Two faces. Where are the two faces? I don't know. Okay, you are able to see? Okay. This side one? Oh, this side one face, this side one face. Okay, they are looking eye to eye. Okay, very good.
White paper.
Huh? White paper, but what is this? Black, black, black. Huh? A misty. Yeah, so one director of a school, she said to me, Sendil, this is how it looks when I go for haircut and get up, no? This is how the whole area looks like. So people will say, everybody can say everything, right? And everything is right. There's no wrong answer as well. Because there's nothing. I have not given any title to it. I have not written anything around it. So obviously whatever you perceive is going to be the right answer. So you don't have to worry much about it. Now look at this. Look at this particular image. Right? That image, if I use little bit of technology, becomes like this. Now are you able to see the deer there? Yes. As a leader, our learning starts from here. We are like this for NEP also. When I am saying, look like this, then maybe again when you come back again, you will be able to see the deer there. This is exactly what's going to happen and happens with all of us. When we don't have right kind of information and knowledge, when we don't have right kind of information, knowledge and data to be very, very clearly, I think we always are in this kind of a scenario where we are not even sure what's going to happen and how exactly it's going to happen. Now this is exactly will happen not only in India, across the world. On 4th May, that is last week, one of the principals, she is the principal of a school in Finland, and when she said thank you, she shown us this particular slide there in the session. And she said a very interesting point. What is written? Being a principal is easy. It's like riding a bike, except the bike is on fire. You are on the fire. Everything is on fire. So the problem in Indian principal and a principal at Finland, no difference. Everybody is on fire. Everybody is on fire. That means what? Today your role is going beyond hardcore academics and lesson plan correction. My request to principal is don't get into this lesson plan correction. Now you are a principal. What I mean, I think you are understanding. If we start getting into small micromanagement, you will never be able to take the schools. And if I'm going to ask you questions of ICSE or council sending or your CBSE sending, many of you will say, is it so? Is there a circular like this? Because we are not even having a folder in our own campus to say if a circular sent on a Monday, on a Friday is withdrawn with a modification. So as a leader, as a school institutional leader, where exactly I am actually spending effort is something very, very important. Next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I talked to a lot of Finnish experts and friends out there. They said, I don't know why we are getting happiness index every time number 1. You ask any Finn, are you happy? He'll say no. He'll say he's not happy. So what does it talk about it? And next month, today they have a meeting when we are sitting here. Today morning at 10 o'clock, that is Indian time around 12 o'clock, they will have a meeting only on for how to organize a 4-day strike, which is happening from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. For increase in salaries in the government schools. With 3,500 euros being given to the people, I think now they are trying to look at how exactly they also need a revision. So what I am trying to talk about is that scenarios across the globe is same, whether it is the world's most happiest country to a country like ours, India, with so much of complexities. So whenever we try to talk about school leadership, it was so good. Earlier we had only one person. School leadership was something like this. Going, coming, one person opening the gate, closing the gate, everything one person doing, no problem. When the second person came, the problem started. And now the situation is something like this. This is exactly what is happening at the leadership role. Suddenly, sometimes we are on a doubt who is the principal of the school or who is the leader of this institution, because this is the kind of a scenario which is actually happening across. And when we try to talk about school leadership, the complexities have changed. So how do we work on these complexities? I'm not going to give a gyan here because I have just 1 hour, so I'm just going to give you some tidbits. The first and the foremost thing is personalized learning experience aligned to global framework. I don't know how many of you have gone to Subway. If not, please at least visit once to experience. I don't have any business interest with Subway. I want you to go there and experience once. You will get frustrated. You will get frustrated because you're going for the first time and somebody is asking me, brown bread, white bread, long bread, so they will get into what all you want that to come in, what sauces you want, what level you want, medium. So when so many questions are asked, we said, boss, whatever you think, right, you please give. In learning, this is exactly what is supposed to happen. In learning, this is exactly what is supposed to happen. So what is going to happen? How do we make our learning experiences as personalized? How can we make learning happen in my classrooms personalized? Every teacher in a lesson plan writes this particular statement without any problem, saying that PKC. What is PKC? Sir, B.Ed mein padha tha. After that we forgot, sir. Previous knowledge of the child. Some people have given PKC a new name, diagnostic assessment. What diagnostic is happening before the lesson? Lesson plan is made for the coordinator and principal. What I decide to do in the classroom is quite different. What I do in reflection is totally different. What I go and discuss in the departmental meeting is quite different. So how do you try to see that there is a linkage between all these practices which we are supposed to look for? So we really need to understand this particular perspective, that what kind of personalization is that we are trying to talk about. Let's take 1 or 2 examples. Today, you take up any school's vision mission. When NAC came, higher education did. When NAC came in, suddenly all institutions suddenly realized that we were running our higher education institution without a vision itself. Without a vision. Same thing happened with CBSE also and ICSE also. CBSE said October 31st, please upload the vision statement of yours on the CBSE portal. Suddenly the English department became very busy in most of the schools. They started seeking help of the IT department also to do a little bit of proper Googling. कि that school is nice, उनका विषय उठा लो, इनका उठाओ, बाद में भेलपुरी बनाओ. It doesn't work like that, sorry. It doesn't work like that. It takes time to seep in to write a vision. So when we try to talk about every school, global citizen, अरे क्या global citizen? What is the global citizen we are trying to talk about? We have not even agreed. Tell me frankly, all of us are sitting here, how many of you have defined your student attributes of your school? Student attributes of your school. When we have not defined student attributes of our school, what are we talking about competency-based education? So go back, do first task is, as a leader, that what are the 7 things, 5 things every student in my school will be the visible thing which will be seen in my child. Luckily in higher education, AICT had defined certain things and UGC had defined, AICT, not UGC has not done, AICT had defined at least some 13 attributes. Now we really need to start working towards it, say, when we are trying to talk about how many of us have, now this is the most seasonal thing right now happening in school. Everybody is talking about SDG. Yesterday evening somebody called up. They gave some jute bag to the parents so that they will not get the polythene bag from the shop. That is also SDG. I said, come on here. Yeah, SDG, it's not wrong. My question is erratic, anecdotal practices, evidences don't make SDG happen. How many of us have written an environment policy for our schools? Tell me. Green policy. We are all green school. Putting one green color badge, making one green brigade doesn't make our school green. Because that badge also what you made is made out of plastic. So it doesn't work like that. So when we talk about green, we really need to see SDG in SDG terms. Next one, PISA for schools. Are we looking? Just go back and look at some of these frameworks. Whatever personalization you are trying to do, you are supposed to look at that. What students are expected to learn. There is an inclusive education policy written by PISA for, that is OECD, PISA for schools. Take that document for inclusive education and read. You will be able to understand our NEP document has a lot of alignment to that. And if you read in NEP in fine prints, it very clearly says 2030. If you look at this, this is also 2030. This is also 2030. All these are 2030. So it is not about 2030. It is all about fixing a timeline and start moving towards it. If you are using flex in your campuses, flex banners in your campuses, do you also have a disposal policy of that particular flex banner in your schools? We put no hundreds, abhi aaya, ICSE, CBSE results are out. Most of the schools have put first rank, second rank, all. Nothing wrong. Please use better way of communication if you really want to become an SDG school. Even if you are trying to use a flex, you need to have a clear-cut disposal policy. If you can't dispose it properly, you can't say that you are moving towards SDG. Otherwise, all these framework, not UN, MUN, every school is doing an MUN. That's the day the boys and girls are very, beautifully dressed, moving around the campus. But the actual intent was that students should be able to talk on a topic, freely share his or her view, was the model United Nations thought process. The intent of MUN was something else, but today it has become a fad and trying to look at, just as an activity. No. Not only this, look at SQA. Oh, this is again one new thing in CBSE. I had so much of fight on this particular subject with CBSE itself and CBSE officials, particularly Kalpana ma'am, the former principal of NH Goel. I had a lot of discussion because she was one of the key persons in SQA when CBSE introduced this. When I was in Raipur, I met her. I worked with her. So I said, ma'am, आपके स्कूल के आप ये जो स्क्वा कर रहे हैं ना, I'm going to put a case against them and ask all schools to apply case against you. She said, why are you wanting this to be done? अच्छा नहीं लग रहा क्या मैं? तो I said, it's not about अच्छा नहीं लग रहा. A affiliating board cannot give accreditation. That is the global practice. An affiliating board cannot do one more assessment because affiliation is given based on assessment. Now I don't know how many of you have seen, slowly it has changed from accreditation to assurance. Go and check the document now. No more accreditation business now. Then again when accreditation thing, it is purely voluntary. And now what they have done? Re-affiliation, apply, complete score and come. And many people who have filled up here have already scored 70-80% marks in SQA also. We are very smart. I'll show you one of the maturity framework somewhere. There I'll say, all of us have scored ourselves above 90. Full, tick, 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 tick. Because in that SQA document, particularly in inclusive education, there is one question which is written on inclusive. Do you have a school counselor? If you put a tick, you will become D, fourth level of maturity. If you remove that, you will automatically come to B, even if you put all. Now people have understood the trick of the trade. They just put that, we have one counselor. Full-time, part-time, they don't mention. That's not the right way. You are trying to fool yourself because SQA is only an internal governance supporting document periodically to be done or used by the management. I don't know how many of us are working on it. Shuffle. Oh, this is again disaster. कितने लोग सफल हुए पता नहीं, लेकिन सफल है. And this time again, many schools never even knew that there was a last date to apply for shuffle. And I can tell you, most of the assessments in the country, mark my words now, the shuffle results, you may have to put it on website from some time from now. then no advertisement required. Parent will go and see on your school website what is your achievement of LO, learning outcomes. So SAFL results are not children assessment result, but school pedagogical effectiveness result. So 3, 5, 8 assessment, whatever we are trying to talk about, we are moving towards that particular direction on measuring the effectiveness of school practices. And globally this practice is already happening. Globally this practice is happening. The second cycle assessment is happening, and we will surely see. So whatever you are trying to do now, connect to one of these framework in detail. You will be able to find value, otherwise no. Otherwise, today why we are trying to talk about this? Look at this. You will be able to appreciate. Now all the apples look smart, no? Let's see what happens. There are almost around 86 types of apples. How do we find out that which is the right apple for making the apple pie? Now there are many. I have just taken 3: Honeycrisp, Brabant, Golden Delicacies. Only with that you can make the best of apple pie globally. That's a benchmark. So what does this apple story means? We are moving towards more of competencies. Everyone is a student in the campus. But how do you find out which is the best apple for what particular role? And that is going to define the future of schools. So you have to first go and define what are the attributes you are trying to bring in to the children. Your student 12 साल बाद, 15 साल बाद, when he is going to walk out of your campus, उसके अंदर क्या लक्षण होंगे? What लक्षण will you be able to see in that particular child? If you are not able to assure this, what kind of quality practices we are trying to talk about? Academic results may not hold good for all these things. So please start reworking and start thinking about it. Second strategy, continually enhancing effectiveness of the practices. I don't know how many of us know that why there is hole in the donut. So when it is full, what will happen, madam? I don't know. It is the same gulab jamun story, right? After 25th years of wedding, still you are trying to make a gulab jamun where the spoon is refusing to get inside the jamun. Correct. The spoon is refusing. Even if it goes halfway through, it gets stuck somewhere. And then what we blame? ये orke का जामुन का mix अच्छा नहीं है. It is not nice. MTR is better. Next time, same thing will happen with that also. The problem is not on us. The problem is the process, learning process enhancement. And that learning process enhancement is very, very important. I'm just giving one example for learning. Emotional learning pedagogies. We thought COVID khatam and back to normal. Like Vikram Vetal's story. The Vetal is again back on the tree. No. I don't have time today, otherwise I would have shown statistics across the world. Up to 24% average learning loss has happened across the world. Including India, we are at 15 to 17% learning loss. We are thinking that we have done well. Last year in one particular school, when board examination for 12th was happening, and these children never wrote the 10th board examination because of COVID. They finished the examination, all of them stood up in the examination of 12th. Time ho gaya, now let's go karke. No. So unless you are actually introducing these kind of practices, it's not even been visible. So it's not my research. This is what has come from OECD. Pandemic has brought home that learning is not transactional business, but a social and relational experience. Social and relational experience. So education is not only dumping of content or concept. So we really need to go back and look at it, and there's the OECD study. If you want, just send a message, I'll send it to you, or I'll send it to the organizers. They can share it with you. It's a very important study. which also talks how to improvise this particular study. If we don't improve our teaching learning practices, any practice for that matter, whether it is assembly, whether it is anything, I don't know how many of you have noticed such water bottles have started coming to our classrooms. Sorry. I don't know how many of you have noticed that your teacher has started carrying this to the classroom, particularly after COVID. I don't know how many of you are seeing. Suddenly staff rooms have such bottles. Glass and different color bottles have come up. Why it has come out? As a leader, did we ever ask why this has come up particularly after COVID? Why? We were using the same water bottle and a glass when the COVID online sessions were happening. We were drinking water because we were sitting. Sitting in front of a computer was like smoking a couple of cigarettes for every hour. So we drank a lot of water, but we are not sitting in front of computer now. Suddenly, what we have found in our schools is this water bottle from our home desk has started getting into our classrooms, which is never happening in Indian schools, at least what I have known of. Never in Indian schools, water bottle never went before COVID to classrooms. It was always in a staff room. Today, you tell a teacher a little loud voice saying that, "Apne aise kyun kiya?" Next day morning, she will say, "Madam, I am putting my resignation." My father-in-law, my mother-in-law, thanks to COVID, all this vocabulary, whatever we acquired during COVID, has still getting continued in our classrooms. We are not able to notice. So my suggestion is that go back and understand what this kind of, structured studies have been talking about, that what exactly needs to happen. This is a fantastic report. Take some elements and work on it. Now this is not only with this. People were now suddenly, this is a PISA report copy, and I want you to only look at this. All these organizations which are conducting these assessments for your children, every grade by grade they do one assessment and they give you one report. You also celebrate in form of Olympiad or in form of other assessment. What are we doing with this assessment thereafter? We are not looking at these particular parameters at all. Because our stakeholder profiles are very, very critical for us to basically work on some of these parameters. Third important thing. We have to start looking at our school from a very data-driven perspective. Very, very data-driven perspective. Right from admission till the child leaves your campus, there is so much of data which is getting generated by you. In form of attendance, in form of participation, in form of multiple things that is happening in your schools. But actually, are we doing anything about this? I'm not very sure about it. Holistic progress report, as per NEP 2020, is going to play a very important role for all of us. Holistic progress card, which is purely data driven. Maturity of competencies has to be measured in that particular aspect. But already I was made to understand people have started already working on something called as Excel formats to fill up that. It is not Excel format, sorry. If a child's data has to be kept from LKG to 12th, you need to see that what is that attributes or competencies you are measuring and how exactly the progression of these competencies is happening at different levels. So data-driven campus is going to play a very, very important role. And one of the simple examples is 358. Ask yourself, after every Olympiad examination which is being conducted by the third party or any other examination conducted by the third party, other than giving away those medals on the stage to children who have performed well, gold, silver, bronze, as a department, what kind of a learning we have taken up? Go back and ask yourself that do we have something called as a pedagogical menu card for 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4? What are the 5 strategies and what are the methods that we will follow to make sure that the learning in our campuses will happen in this particular format? So what I have understood is when I started reading this, when I started working on it, And when I started looking at SAFL, I felt that 358 to diagnostic assessment hai for the school, and the PISA for school is continuation for that. I love to give this example because under NEP in the 12th standard, now at least here also we have been very, very smart. We have structured them as group 1, group 2, group 3, right? That's how the circular came, no? You have to choice of subjects. But this is exactly my experience happened at Thailand when we went to see the Green School Bali. The Hotel Palms we were staying, and I wanted to have omelette, so I went to this particular chef who was making. I said, can you make some omelette? He called one of the attendants there and said, help sir to identify the omelette. I said, identify the omelette. Omelette is omelette. What identification we need to do? Then she brought me to my table. My table was 20, and she showed me that there is this is kept their catalog. And this catalog basically helped me to identify what kind of omelette I would like to have. And she said me, sir, what did you say? 2 eggs? Okay, put a tick here. Then she said, sunny side, over easy, over hard. It was a little difficult. What is over hard? So I said, okay, it's easy, safe. So I went for this. Then she said omelette. And then she said, what side? Scrambled, egg white or regular? This was again a little difficult question. Then I said, okay, egg white. Then she said, what all you want in your omelette to be put? Tomato, beef, ham, cheese, onion, mushroom and bell peppers. I ticked a few items and gave it. Then she said, now you give it to them. I will serve this particular thing back to you. Then she said, still if you have changed your mind, we also have something called as poached eggs. If you don't like omelette, you want to go for boiled egg, we have boiled egg also. But most interesting in boiled egg is, it is 3 minutes cooking, 5 minutes cooking, 10 minutes cooking. And there is a dash also. In between 5 and 10, if you want 7 minutes, you write 7 minutes. We will boil your egg only for 7 minutes. Don't laugh. This is exactly what is going to happen with your board examination in future. Child is going to decide which chapter, which teacher, where, in what form I want the learning. But we have been very smart. So we have grouped them in 2-3 levels because India mein so time lagta hai. But this is exactly what will happen with our 9 to 10, 9 to 12 examinations very soon. So what I am trying to talk about is your practices needs to work on it. The next important thing is that integrating appropriate technology. We use technology, we abuse technology. We don't use, we abuse technology. Sir, within 1 week, when COVID came, all our teachers went online. What online you did? We are so technological savvy. How many times did you go back and reflect? How much time did we ever spend on training our teachers on technology through online mode? Never. We are fear. If I train her, she will go and join that sister school. Because people say, in this school, that is the father, suppose just example only, don't take it otherwise. This father school has produced lot of principals. At least in father school, you can never become principal. You can never become principal. See, I am standing in front of you. I would never become principal of Christ. Any possibility for me? No. I am a real-time father. I have to become then only I can become, right? So it's not possible. So that's like many people ask me this question, why did you live Christ? I say, I live this for this reason. I can never become principal. Jokes apart. But what I am trying to say is that, are we actually willing to do that investment? If this sister gives 500 rupees more, I am willing to move to that particular school. But they don't know. Just example, sister. Known devil, unknown angel. We don't know what will happen because that school doesn't have numbers. So they will say, take this pamphlet, go for admissions. We don't know all this. That's where people, I always say, whenever somebody is resigning, you don't know what's there on the other side. Don't look at only that number, salary number. You will never be able to get certain things. 500 rupees you will get, but another 5,000 problem also you will get. Who will face on it? Be very careful about it. And so appropriateness of technology is Zoom, Google Meet is not technology. Please understand, it is only a technology tool. We get confused between technology and technology tools.
So when we try to talk about technology, in technology, this is another example of technology. I saw this in Korea, but this is not green. This is technology. The data getting collected about the plant's growth process. The plant's growth process gets measured by data, then only it becomes technology. Otherwise, it's not technology. This is called, in latest terms, as smart farming. We talk about smart farming, and this is a classic example of smart farming, which I saw in Korea last October. So when we try to use technology, are we using it appropriately is something which is very, very important. Not only this, this is the future classroom. How the future classrooms will look like. The future classrooms will not only have the writing space, the projectors, but the teacher also playing with her mobile on the screen, and the child will do all the three formats of learning along with collaboration. Whether it is kinesthetic learning, whether it is visual or auditory. All the three are happening in the classroom. So there is a worksheet, there is a kit, which is, in this case it was Lux Robo kit, and then people were trying to work on the tab. So this is a typical future classroom which has been projected by countries like Korea. And yesterday when I went to Estonia, I saw some very personalized chairs which are going to come up as part of the future classrooms or future Estonia. So what people are trying to do, they are trying to talk about futureness. They are not talking about today. And all these, both the references what I am giving are not private sector but government sector. Another most abused initiatives and another strategy which you can use is this sustainable initiatives. Under this also, this is a school in Bangalore which is done of completely cardboard. When we try to talk about sustainable initiatives, putting we are green is not good enough. How much paper utilization you have reduced in your campus? How many rims you used to buy once upon a time and how much are you buying today? What kind of thermocols have you started reducing? Usage of thermocols in your class campuses. Now this is a school called as Atelier School on Sarjapur Road in Bangalore, where they have used all these are cloth mill cartons which are available, and people were kind of trying to look for it. So this is a classic case of saying how exactly the future will look like. Look at this. Reggio Emilia inspired school near Pune. Any guess that, can you believe that this is a government school? This is Jilla Panchayat School, Vablewadi, which is also taking green initiatives. So we really need to understand and appreciate what exactly needs to be done. People also do like this. These are some of the examples what I am trying to quote. I don't know how many of you, I learned this new word, that's why I used this word. Day before yesterday I saw this word, something called as pedagogue, which is nothing but the teacher. The person who uses the best pedagogies, we have to nurture. That means invest on people. While investing on people, you have to invest very, very clearly. We are talking about 50 hours of CPD, continuous professional development. Is it coming based on your APP requirement? APP is nothing but annual pedagogical plan requirement. I'm not very sure about it. And whenever you are going to do the training, even if the publisher is helping you to do the training, ask him very clearly, I want 3 types of training. Even the publisher, whoever, I know many of us are using publishers, nothing wrong, use. Because he is getting some business out of it. No? So ask him, I want this kind of training. I want something on subject related training, how to teach the subject. I want how the teacher should behave when the teacher becomes the class teacher, coordinator and others, or how the teacher will behave in the institutional transformation process. So if you try to divide that, my suggestion to you is that 4 days, 12 days training must happen for every teacher in the campus. This is at the institutional level, this is at the role level, and this is at the domain level. Subject and teaching and methods level. All this can be nurtured only through positive culture, and positive culture is something like this. Why this mixed salad? we need everybody in the campus. Salad generally is good for health. Not only that, but everybody should know what is the importance of that particular individual in the campus. My existence in the campus also must be known. And all this will lead into maturity. I have running short of time, so I'm just going to quickly rush through here. Now this is nothing but, this is not my image, this is SQA document. In SQA document also, one of the wrong things what we are trying to do, there is something called as, see, initial people are doing, they are doing something, but generally they are correcting it. System is defined in document. Have we defined our practices? Are we, and do we have evidences whether these things are working in our school or not? Then we talk about people know what their avatar is, what they are supposed to do, and not only this, they improve the practice regularly. So this is the maturity. Most of our people have not read this, have looked at this. Sir, our management is very, very accountable. So first point we leave it, we give rate for no.
Sometimes we stand between the levels also. That is not defined.
It is defined. Only thing we don't know, ma'am. We will, ma'am, during tea break we will have a conversation. Because see, the whole thought process is, there is clearly defined rubrics available. Only thing we are not able to read. I am doing as an individual is this level, just to simplify the example. Two of us are doing something is second level, where we do correction with mutual collective wisdom. This is both of, not only both, all 10 of us have agreed, documented how we will do. We have a script, we go and implement, we come back after the script and try to measure how the whole thing has gone through. So these are 3-4 levels of maturity which is there. But unfortunately, we are not looking at the maturity in this particular format. And then we are talking about benchmark, which is again a mess. So these are the 7 things which you should be looking forward to, which I have shared now. But all this will require a lot of time and patience. Not only this time and patience, you have to be the attraction. Principal should be looked by the teachers like this. मेरा principal Kristu Jayanti से workshop खत्म करके आ रहा है. They all should be waiting like this. नया ज्ञान क्या देने वाला है करके. So you should not be taking too much of ज्ञान. You should be taking specific ज्ञान. That's the moral of the story. And that particular ज्ञान, whatever that you are trying to do, be very mindful whether it is possible in your school or not. If you try to use all the high level English words, enhancing your vocabulary, people will say, kuch ho gaya. That's all they will say. They will not say, they are not willing to bring that change. And go back and try to look at your structure. Today we have done department-wise verticalization. And if you try to look at even in teaching methods, look at your reverse structure, and your structure should be like this. Mix and match. All the 12th standard teachers who are there now, put them 1 day substitution in early years classroom, 1 day substitution in primary section. See what they will do. They'll all resign and go. Simple reason, because they can only teach one particular subject in one particular format to score marks in one particular type of assessment. So your structures also need to change, which is very, very critical. Identify right people and place them, their competencies very, very well. Identify people who is good at what. Always personalize your statement. If there is somebody who wants to eat with egg, without egg. Non-veg, under non-veg, there can be 4 more segments. Then in vegetarian, and there is vegetarian, and there is a, what you call vegan, all that has to be personalized. If you don't personalize, learning will not happen. And this is something which you should always do. Many people are around you like this as a leader. I call them as Chaheta, Chahetis, and the network of the principal. Wherever principal goes, network follows. Like that. So keep away from these Chahetis and Chaheta and Chahetis, because if you want good of yourself, start crossing the barriers and start working in committees, you will start loving your campus. Always try to benchmark with the right people. Don't benchmark with something high-end and you will never be able to successful. आप अभी survival का सवाल कर रहे हैं, and the person who goes for this has achieved everything in life, is doing only pastime. or pursuing a hobby. For you, it's not a hobby, it's a living. So when you are doing the benchmark, identify the right benchmark and then start working on it. It also means just because you fit in doesn't mean that you are at the right place. Because you fit in a role, you can't be put at certain place. And finally, for all this, management commitment is required. If management commitment is not there, you are like this fellow who is trying to clear the slush. But now I hope that you will decide whether you would like to be like a banana plant or a tree, whatever, or a banyan plant. What is the one you will pick up quickly? How many wants banyan? Raise your hands quickly. Okay. See, people are now politically correct. Somebody raised hand and then slowly took it back. How many want like this? What is the difference? Quick. Banana. Ask the biology teacher, this fellow will never allow anybody to grow below them. So don't be principal like this. Become principal like this, where other people also should question you.
But it could be other way. That
How, madam?
stronger grows.
Never. That is this fellow will die, and whenever he is going to die, he will create a vacuum in the system.
No, biologically we are speaking.
We are talking about as a practice, as a system. Please understand, to shift first to soch badlo, from whatever to whatever, and then only you will be able to find the difference. With that note, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for this enriching session where you spoke in the layman language and describing all our experiences, be it an apple pie, be it a customized omelette, or all these examples that you have given. This helps us, just like how children want a better explanation, this gives us clarity where we would be inspired to break the monotony of just being typically tired of this teaching method. So this will give us a refreshing approach to go ahead with whatever we plan to do for the upcoming session. So we'll just take one or two questions. If anyone has a question.
And please introduce yourself so that. No, there's one. Somebody is just mic is gone there. Okay. Yeah, give the second mic here. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Padmanabh from Bangalore.
Yes, Padmanabh sir. Heli sir.
Sir, you've been giving us examples of PISA in all these big schools across, and then SAFL.
Sorry, sir. Let me correct my statement. It is not about.
No, I'm not completing my question. No.
Big schools.
No. That's what.
Big schools, no.
No. I'm not. I'm just about to complete the question.
Sure.
When we look into the area of, like, maybe if it is across the opportunities that are there or the facilities that are there, India is one such country where we have got many such problems and all those things. But do we have small schools also?
Correct.
So then do you think that where are we heading towards, and how do we improve? We have given so many strategies for us. So
Yeah.
can you just briefly tell us, in this audience also we do have certain schools which are very small, mediocre, and do you think we do also contribute, and how do you think that we will?
Okay, Dr. Padmanabh, I'm not going to. I'll just only say one thing. What is the definition of big and small? I don't know. Is it in terms of number of students? Is it number of turnover? Or is it the land? I'm not very sure.
All land, area, structure, students,
So I think
facilities.
Yeah. So that then you really need to kind of be very clear about it. If you're saying that means I can only have 550 people, or I can run only a single section school, go to Riverside, Ahmedabad. I'm giving you the names of the schools. You don't have to do anything. Sir is sitting here. Excel Global School. Sri Kumar sir, Dr. Sri Kumar. Again a passionate educator. He's sitting, the owner of a school is sitting here. Walk up to him and see how he incorporates Finnish education systems in his campus. He's a live example sitting here. We don't have to go and ask for anybody. He's here. During tea break, please walk up to him and eat his head. He will tell you what he has actually done. So we have stories available across the globe. And we have unsung heroes. Unfortunately, Today, with the award culture coming everywhere across, the definition of a good school has gone for a toss, which is very, very unfortunate. Which is very unfortunate, and it is purely not scientific. So because of that reasons, we can't say a school is big or a small. I've just given you 2 examples. Vallabh Ashram Vapi. I'm giving you another school. Vallabh Ashram Vapi in Gujarat. Please go and see that particular school. You will be able to see what is being done in there. So I've given you 2 names. If you want numbers also, please walk up to me. I'll be more than happy to share the number with you, sir. And then I showed Wablewadi. It's again one particular principal. Guruji Dataware, who has been transferred by politicians because his school was coming very well. Over 45 preschools and primary schools in the geography of 20 kilometers were closed because of one government school. So there is a live case study which is also available there. So government schools are giving competition to private schools too. Sure. Next question. And Sri Kumar sir, please help them to understand. Thank you. Yeah, give the mic here, please. No, here. Yeah. And then you can take a couple of minutes. Yeah.
Sir, I'm Mrs. Annie.
Please sit down and say, please sit down.
From Holy Angels, Vellore district.
Sure.
You have said that we are going to have change. So is there a time limit as everybody can implement and the unified result can be brought into India?
See, there is nothing called as unified or one result. The spectrum in it, okay, let me stand for the people to see at the last. There is something called as every spectrum has somebody as low achieving and high achieving in terms of their objectives. I can't wait here for everybody to come here and then I will move here. Everybody to move here. I am not saying. Mr. Sanjay Kumar, Secretary, Ministry of Education, said this statement at the CBSE Annual Sahodaya at Mumbai. He said the growth process has to be very, very clear that people have to be, who are here, have to move towards the other side. Others will start following it. And it is only a question of time which will happen over a period of. But sustained effort needs to be taken by the leadership. If the leader is not convinced, nothing will happen. I don't know how many of you eat fish. Not that they are going to, I don't know whether menu today fish is there or not. But how many of you go and buy fish? Raise hands properly. Don't worry. Yeah, veg, non-veg, no problem. It's only example. Okay. How many of you buy fish? When you buy fish, how do you find out the fish is good? You don't touch, sister. You only open the gills. So you ask 3 questions to the principal, how stinking the school is, we can come to know. This was not my example. This is given by a Sri Lankan quality professional. He gave an example. He said, leadership is all about like a fish. Well, you take take a sheet of paper, write attributes of fish, what all fish can do. And then write next to that what the school principal can do. You'll be able to understand that principal has to be like a fish. So you can contextualize any example because in Sri Lanka, it may be a vegetarian item. So make things simpler for people. People will be very happy. Yes, sir. You would like to add something?
Can we take the questions? Like sir said, he'll be available during the tea breaks. Due to paucity of time, as we have our next resource person, so we would request you all to have discussion with sir in the tea break. We duly apologize, sir. 1 or 2 more. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
This is called as reverse pressure.
Sir, this is Dr. Timi Pei, relying from Manipur. I've been to Finland as well, and then I've been to Denmark. My sister is in Denmark. So I visited in Denmark. When I could relate the narration you told me about the play school. I went there as well. So I feel like, the education system in India, especially the exam system, is really change. It has to change in a way, because what I feel like, in European countries especially, they don't have an exam system till they are in 9th standard. So I think the whole pressure, the whole, the problem with an Indian system is the exam system. And if you can also influence people from the education sector. If something could be done with the exam system, would be really.
Don't worry, sister. I think good days are ahead for us.
I'm not giving a political title. If I would have said in Hindi, then people would have taken it another way. Good days are ahead in terms of academics. Wait for 18 months. Wait for 18 months and you will get it.
Yeah. We can go for the next question, next and last question.
I'm Prabha from Jamshedpur, Jharkhand.
Yes, ma'am.
So students are
Which school? Jamshedpur.
Kamal Junior College.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So my question is about the academic stress.
Yes.
And how do I guide as a teacher? What should they be pursuing? They're so confused. I feel so desperate. I can't help them. I don't know if I'm guiding them.
Are you a
right or not.
counselor there?
No, I am not.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. First of all, if you are not certified to do counseling, don't do it. On the name of counseling, we are dumping all the garbage what we have suffered in life on the student who is sitting in front of us. Please don't do guidance. They know what. Only show them the options. Let them choose the option. But there is something called as attributes. If you are from Kamal Junior College, Sister Flavian, she had a practice, I still remember, she had a fantastic practice. She will tell people to come and speak in English in her cabin. Right? Okay. So
I would like to add here, every student and the parent used to shiver when it was public speaking. She used to call every student of the school individually and stand and speak. That's how everyone got the confidence. She's not in Kamal Jamshedpur anymore, but then
she's in Ranchi now.
Lot
Okay,
of love and respect.
So why I'm giving you this perspective is that every school leader has actually something very unique. And she is somebody who has attended my session for 5 days, 6 days basically. So I can tell about that particular school, or many schools as such. So what I'm trying to talk about is, don't try to infuse your thinking process on the children, particularly pursuing courses. First. Second, in India till grade 8, it is the mother who decides the courses for the child. 9th onwards is the father who takes over the responsibility. Okay, so we need to be very clear. Now don't try to, and see, you are actually supposed to do this very, very clearly because this is one of the worrying factor right now, because on the bagless days, when you have 10 days, please take your children to 150 kilometers, stop all these excursions. Convert these excursions into 10 bagless days, and in those 10 bagless days, take your students to the nearest one of the vocations and expose them for 1 full day. Don't take to the hospital only for hospital, take the hospital administrator, introduce the hospital administrator, and in 8th standard, introduce them to the ambulance driver also. Everybody cannot become ambulance driver because you're not driving. There are protocols, there are processes. So children should be given in 30 days, in 6, 7, 8, 30 days of awareness under bagless days. 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 days per year into 4 years, that means the child will at 8 will have some awareness on careers. They will have some awareness on careers, and in 9, 10, 11, 12, they will choose subjects based on the 30 vocations what they have been exposed to. And there they will try 4 different vocations. Based on that, then they will decide which course, which college to join at the degree level. This is the new format of counseling, career counseling, which is coming up. And please understand, as a country, we are looking at 30% of vocational, 30 or 50% of vocationalization. So please go back and read the document, which very clearly says 90 days of awareness and experience of working will help the child to make a better career choices. And the people who are trying to talk on the name of counseling, this foreign universities coming and trying to, lure our childs and going, I'm sorry, that's not career counseling. There are organizations which are doing, they are unethically doing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Indeed, we have a lot of queries and discussions. We can still carry this forward. But for now, we'll break for a short tea break. And we have our speaker with us, so please join in quickly. All should join in by? It's 10:56, so all should be there by 11:05. I request Dr. Manikandan to please offer a memento and a big round of applause for this interactive session. Thank you, sir.
That is legal considerations. Adhering to the laws and regulations is a legal and ethical obligation because the principal is responsible for everything that happens in the school. A leader is tasked not only with ensuring academic excellence, but they also have to ensure student safety in the campus, managing the employee issues, comply with the regulatory requirements. So the spectrum of legal consideration in the school administration is multifaceted. The principals need to navigate through the intricate web of legal obligations which governs the functioning of their institution. So today we all are privileged to have with us Dr. Mohan Rao Bulla, the principal of Kristu Jayanti College of Law, a distinguished expert in the field. He is the resource person for the session, and his insights will not only deepen your understanding on the legal complexities, but also provide a valuable guidance on effectively navigating those challenges as well. I would like to invite Dr. Ramya to welcome Dr. Mohan Rao with a potted sapling as a token of her appreciation.
Very kind of you. You're only bearing the burden.
It is an honor for me to introduce Dr. Bulla sir to this esteemed gathering. Dr. Mohan Rao sir is renowned for his innovative initiatives in the legal education, always aiming for excellence. He has been instrumental in organizing moot court competitions, Vishwa Nyaya Samvad programs, as well as national and international seminars and conferences, which involved over 13 judges of Supreme Courts of India and 50 judges of various high courts from different states in India. Recently, he also organized an international conference on fostering the Sustainable Development Goals. Dr. Bulla has served in several law colleges in Andhra Pradesh before joining Kristu Jayanti. He has been associated with Jan Shikshan Samsthan, sponsored by the Ministry of HRD, as a program officer and director. He is the editorial board of several law journals, and he regularly contributes chapters on annual survey of Indian law. Please join with me in welcoming Sir as we embark on this journey to explore the legal considerations. Sir, kindly take over.
Namaste. Let us start with a tribute to all the gurus. Dharmagno dharmarataya cha dharmakaraya cha evan. Dharmaparayana tatvebhyaha sarvasastrardha deshiko guru ruchyate. That is what is the definition given. Guru is the manifestation of dharma. All pious issues he manifests in himself, and an ideal example which must be emulated in general by all those associated with him in teaching as well as the taught. And he is the guiding force and a visionary, taking essence from all that he had learnt from his schooling down the line and the experience. He would provide that mission and guide the students. And you are all those gurus. And my humble kudos and salutations to each one of you, the great gurus who have been doing a human service of disseminating knowledge. And kindly accept my kudos and salutations to you all. And we are expected to be the symbols of inspiration for the symbols of inspiration, and inspire those who are in the classroom, and be an inspirer, guide, take the task of guiding and shaping the career of those who come across. And that being so, a guru is expected to be the manifestation of the so-called dharma, in the sense all piousness, and disseminating knowledge is considered as the greatest gift that can be given to anybody or shared to anybody, and at the best we get more and more knowledgeable in return. And keeping that in mind, our performance, and try to be consciously building our career, and the definition of something relevant to our character. We need to build and keep that esteemed character intact, and say, even when you get an opportunity to commit something wrong, even when you get an opportunity to commit something wrong and you are not doing that, are not yielding to that circumstance, you are the ideal, isn't it? I get an opportunity to steal something and I am not doing that, because as a matter of principle I am duty bound not to steal from anybody. As such, any such wrong, because we deal with people, pupils, your colleagues as well as the pupils, and you have a relationship that is contemplated to be fiduciary, and a lot of influence you can command on not only the colleagues, especially the students, and we shall never ever take that advantage and commit anything as such. That kind of principled life we are expected to lead, and self-control is what is the need of the hour, and for that I have, and I'm can you just, my birth year hasn't been disclosed, right? And can you just estimate my age? Okay, the reverse of it I can't say that I am running 72, but I am running sweet 62. Never hospitalized, nor running a sugar factory. And shall I share you the secret of my successful, the mantra? You want that? Okay. You also have values, and you look elder to my age. But, sir, yoga practice. Yoga practice. My day starts with that. And to keep that running always, every day, despite the fact that there are 100 calamities in my life, but yet I could stick to it because I attach it to my diet. That is to say, without completing yoga, I don't take anything. So one must eat to live, right? We shall eat to live. We are not living to eat, right? And when we attach it to that, definitely you can keep good health. A sound mind and the sound and healthy body is what is guaranteed with the bare minimum 20 minutes to 1.5 hours, whichever time you can devote. You can be very well, be smiling till the end of the day, and of course, going home you may quarrel with anybody. But that would make people very, very ideally healthy and sound. And you can, as Sir was rightly pointing out, we can stick to our principles and lead that life. Anyway, all the principals and heads of the institutions can be principled and lead a principled, value-oriented life, and that is what is contemplated, and you are shown as the best example in your institute and those who come across to you. Anyway, we are going to deal with certain of these aspects. In this session, I was asked to deal with ethical and legal, and my concentration as a layman is on the legal aspects in general. And the supreme law of the land, it is nothing but the Constitution of India. It provides for certain, more importantly, the rights, and the key right, the best and important, most important right is obviously right to life. Without life and without being a living being, you can't do anything, right? You can't speak or you can't claim anything else. So that is there, and strangely, so many things, more than 100 things are inclusively read into this one sentence. One sentence, namely Article 21, which guarantees right to life and personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of his right to life and personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. This is what is laid down, and more than 100 things are read into it. And at times Supreme Court itself wonders as to where are we going, and everything is being brought into this. One judge by name Justice Kapadia, he was criticizing the Supreme Court's judgments when he was there in the office only. The other day, there was one decision given by his own colleagues, and Supreme Court, when it declares something, it is law. You are all well aware of it. There is one article, Article 141, which says that the law declared by the Supreme Court is binding on all the courts. As such, every now and then you hear that this particular issue is also covered under Article 21. Right to education was also considered as part of it. And the Supreme Court Chief Justice, who was criticizing their own judgments, was very particularly talking about right to sleep, when it was declared as a fundamental right, the man very recently in news, the saffron-clad Swami, I think he runs the products, namely Patanjali, Baba Ramdev. He was doing so many things. Earlier also, he was in news that he was not only wearing certain fanciful dresses, he was wearing, I think, a lady's dress on a particular day. There was a case. He was agitating against corruption, and he was sitting in Ram Leela Maidan, and in the name of Henry Ram Leela Maidan there was a case wherein the Supreme Court declared that right to sleep is also implicit under Article 21. That has been criticized. Despite that criticism, there had been umpteen number of issues which could be brought within the ambit of Article 21, including education, environment. You name anything which generally people consider essential, that's declared as implicit under Article 21. However, the education is one of the universal indices of the development. It has been implicitly considered as part of right to life, and that life which can be dignified, right to dignity again, and that would enable a person to lead to such a stage whereby there can be a dignified life led. And that has been the trend, and yet the framers of law in India consider that this right to education must be specifically be laid down as a fundamental right, because there was a lot of experimentation relating to the implementation of a directive principle of state policy laid down under Article 45. Earlier there was Article 45 which was providing for free and compulsory education. Right to free and compulsory education was an unjusticiable right, a positive right but unjusticiable. For that, nobody could go to the court stating that my right to free and compulsory education has been affected. And one state in India exceptionally exemplary and exceptionally rare example, namely Kerala, which was implementing that Article 45 very well, and therefore there has been educational advancement in that state very well. However, you can clap yourself what is there in it, even if you are not a Keralite. And the framers of law wanted to make every state a Kerala. Why? Because this right to provide free and compulsory education to be effectively implemented so that the development index can float a bit high, and there can be a guarantee for dignified life. Therefore, there had been in 2009 the constitution itself has been amended, and that 45 has been deleted from there, and then it is put as Article 21A, which is there, I think, evident here. To provide free and compulsory education to all children. Which age? But the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it talks about a desirable, at least it would say that preferably at least up to elementary education, it would say. And earlier there was an occasion for the Supreme Court, for that matter several occasions where reservation cases have been before the Supreme Court. It was stating that right to education has been a fundamental right implicit under Article 21, and 21A is a necessary corollary added very recently, and we are to keep that in mind. And pursuant to this particular insertion of this particular article, namely Article 21A, there has been Right to Free and Compulsory Education Act enacted in 2009. And as educators establishing educational institutions, you have a problem with that, a small problem, whereby 25% of the seats are to be reserved for the so-called disadvantaged groups. And now very recently another 10% has been added. Of course, that 10% you can add to your sanctioned strength. That is different. EPW, to cater to the needs of EPW, you can add to the strength of seats sanctioned to you. That's a different aspect. And then this Free and Compulsory Education Act, we are amenable to follow that stricto sensu when you are receiving grant in aid from the government. You got my point? All other private, especially minority institutions, are not amenable to the right to information, the right to Free and Compulsory Education Act. Kindly keep that in mind. And when you are at the receiving end, you are bound. When you are at the receiving end, you are bound by dictate. Right? I give you, and therefore you are bound by my, and therefore that you are duty bound, legally bound to follow that. Otherwise minorities especially have got that right to administer their own institutions under Article 30. That is a fundamental right of minorities, and therefore they are exempted if they are not aided. So that kindly keep that in mind. And the other rights that are there with respect to our administration of the schools or these right to equality, we shall not violate that, and try to be impartial. And then freedom of speech and expression, very now and then you come across this. And again we go to Kerala by taking one example. There was one Bijoy Emmanuel along with his two sisters. He was not singing the national anthem nor giving chorus even to the national anthem, and that had led to a case going to the Supreme Court. The question was, right not to speak. Right not to speak, is it fundamental or not? Yeah? Right not to speak. That is to say, keeping calm when you are bound by the fact that you shall sing the anthem. You shall sing. You may have your own reservation that my swara is Gardhava swara, therefore I don't want to sing. You know what Gardhava swara is? Don't mistake it to me, because I am known to be having a sweet voice. I don't know how many of you accept that. And who will accept, ma'am? You will accept? Yes, we're receiving my phone, or when I answer my phone, yes, madam, people tend to say. Okay, I take it a compliment. I take it as a compliment. And now let us go look at Bijoy Emmanuel. there is fundamental right which is laid down under Article 19(1)(a), which says that you shall have freedom of speech and expression. So the negative aspect of this negative right, the state shall not take away your right, and the negative aspect of that, that is to say, right to not to speak. Suppose to take an example, the right to live is guaranteed under Article 21. Right not to live in the sense, right to die. Can it be fundamental? Yeah, this kind of analysis, the negative aspect of the negative right. I think I am making some sense. So then the Supreme Court observed what had actually happened with Vijay Emmanuel and his sisters. And all the trio, they were standing, not chanting that, not giving chorus to that, but they were silent, bowing down their heads. This was the fact. At times, bowing down your head. What do we mean by bowing down the head, the body language? How do we read the body language? I am standing here. Yeah, respect. So that is what has been considered. See, the so-called Shraddhanjali, while we pay tributes to the dead also we do that, but yet when they were seen to have been, and it's established and on record that they were standing in silence, bowing down their head, and therefore they did not violate anybody's anything, any right. And when the HM was very serious, the HM actually, this matter has been considered, and that was taken into consideration very positively. We generally, with all the parental psychology, we dictate certain things. Hey, you shall sing. Otherwise, no, you look odd and others get spoiled if you are not doing that. And it becomes a symbol of, disobedience, this and that, and then he was seriously taking an action. Serious action. What is the best serious action you can take against a student? Huh? Or rusticate. So strike off the number. Yeah, okay, go. He could have stated something else, but go is what? It's not like man go. Mango season is there. Men only shall go. I don't know. He was asking the students, go. You are rusticated. That was considered as offending their right. And they had also raised one important aspect, another right, namely right to religion. They belong to a particular sect of Christianity called Jehovah's Witnesses. Despite the logical considerations, they don't take anything as such into account, but they say that I don't even accept blood donation. Even when they are like that, very strict sect of Orthodox sect of Christianity. And they say they are preached to the extent. Is there any Jehovah's Witness here? No, I wish to just correct myself. And the father can, I think, correct if I am stating wrong. What they preach generally is they are not expected to participate in any religion, any ritual other than that of God. You got my point? They are not, Jehovah's Witnesses are not expected to participate in any ritual other than that of God. God alone.
We don't even consider them as part of Christianity. They are a separate sect altogether. We can't even call them as Christians.
Okay, despite that, what do they preach? Is it correctly stated or not? I am asking. This is what Supreme Court has observed, held. Because of the religious objection, what they were doing. Pupils, there is a generation gap between teachers. Okay, though looking younger, there is generation gap, right? The pupils, they are wise enough. How do I satisfy my religion as well as this particular dictate from the HM? Okay, they were sensibly standing in silence, bowing down head. That should not have been objected to by the HM. HM first, your replica, our counterpart, isn't it? The common man. What law considers into or thinks is that it's just considered as wisdom, wiseness. It is not extraordinary meritorious feelings or ideas, but law is nothing but common sense and prudence, ordinary prudence. And therefore, that should suggest that you should not object to when they are standing in silence and right. As a matter of fact, holding that right not to speak is also not fundamental. Even at fundamental rights are not absolute. There can be reasonable restrictions subject to public health, morality, and sovereignty of the state. That was what is about Bijoy Emmanuel. Why I told you this story is not to send out students and rusticate them when they are not yielding to your dictators, especially relating to national anthem. That's what, sir. It's obvious I gave you the judgment, but you are expected to tell the judgment. This is the consideration, taken into consideration. I don't know about that HM. Maybe she has her own consideration. They are not expected to take Vijay Emmanuel as an example. You may have 100 other things in your mind. Supreme Court stated that right not to speak, though not fundamental, fundamental rights are not absolute. They are subject to reasonable restrictions, but taking into the very fact of their body language at the time when the national anthem was being sung, they were standing silent and
But sir, not speaking is different. But here is the mantra of singing and
that's what I don't sing means no, that's it. I am keeping silent. When I am duty bound to speak or sing, I am not singing, I am just standing in silence. Okay, we have so many other things, and I have even time constraint also. Right to education we have covered, and there are so this was the case. Namely, you may just note down this. This was the case where it was held that right to education is implicit under Article 21, even prior to the act that had come into force. K.P. Unnikrishnan. I belong to Andhra, and people may feel something bias or area bias, and therefore I did not mention that. Okay, thank you. Anyway, now this free right to freedom of education, free and compulsory education, being educators, you are wise enough to to give suggestions as to how best we can implement that part of compulsory. The state has been ready, at least on cards. It has been ready. State means the same, so many things. All state, all government machinery, including aided schools, etc., are considered as state. It is ready to provide free education. How to implement that part of compulsory education? Did you ever think? I think you can keep that in mind and try to suggest the government as to how best we can implement that particular part of compulsory education. That is to say, there is a family unable to feed its children, and out of that poverty and unable to meet both the ends, the parents are forced to send the kids to work. There you say that it is a compulsory act, and who should be punished? Children, you want to? Shall we put the kids in the jail? Or the parents? Shall we put the parents in jail? Government only. You want to punish the government? How do you do that? Mind you, I tell you one thing. I was also associated with an NGO sponsored by Government of India for over a decade. It was an institute of, initially established as an institute of people's education, workers' education transformed into a people's education and continuing education also. And we were coming across some such schemes called National Child Labor Scheme. See, how do people name some schemes? Labor scheme, child labor scheme, not child labor eradication scheme. Yeah, see, how fancifully they put some name, okay, NCLP. Initially, what was provided is, we can't make it compulsory and we can't enforce that even if it is compulsory. We can't put the parents in jail, or we can't, nor the kids are to be punished because they are the most innocent creatures and they are like prospective heroes in old cinemas where the child, it takes a decision, okay, I'm not studying, I'm sacrificing for my sister, my brother, I do sacrifice, I live for my brother, this and that. And okay, anyway, what has been provided in the scheme was 100 rupees per month is given as an incentive, a freebie. Freebies are not new. Freebies are not new. Even in 70s, 80s, we had that 100 rupees is given to the parents per month at that time. At least for the sake of that particular amount, or treating it as a compensation for their poverty, and therefore as a part of poverty alleviation scheme plus right to education, promoting of right to education, it was experimented. Okay, you know, every government scheme is like an iceberg starting from the place, okay, place of sanction. It's like an iceberg. This 100 rupees is like an iceberg, and by the time it reaches the parent, I don't know how much or even nothing. Even there is no possibility to wet. Anyway, that's 100 rupees was a good amount at that time. At that time, 100 rupees was a good amount. An NGO, what it did was, it it has invested it in a different way. Without giving it to parents, they started running free boarding. Free boarding has been provided to those kids, and they were running residential schools. That experiment worked well to a certain extent. Anyway, governments, at least not the change in the CM, but even collector, things matter. A collector being the center of power, and he is two in one, especially two in one, the executive as well as the legislature. Despite the separation of powers we have, they tend to have some wise ideas, and they show certain models. And at that time when we were struggling as to how best, which model shall be emulated and all that, whether to run free residential hostels for the school dropouts, and how to cope up with this right to education and all that. Once collector suggested us to go to one NGO by name Mamadipudi Venkatarangaya Foundation, MB Foundation. It was in Hyderabad, and they were running very innovative. Somebody was, the madam was reading my profile stating that I have been innovative. I don't know how best I am innovative. Their innovative attitude is that there is something called whisper campaign. How do we campaign things? Now campaigning is also going on in some places, and without speaking loudly, can we campaign whispering? Anyway, they were experimenting, and that was sounding very well and yielding very good results. What has been whispered is the $100 question. The whisper is introduced to a school dropout. School dropout. Actually, shall I treat you as a school dropout, madam? No. Kindly accept now, for you are only acting. They whisper like this. Hey boy, there is something very free. You can, a place selected, you know, I think you need to tell me a place. Name some place very prominently known to you very well. Huh? No, in Mumbai you need to tell one particular place. Okay, a Ramkovla, a church, Nikhil Road. There is one particular house where you are provided with all play tools, free food, and you can enjoy a lot. You tell all other friends, and you all please come. We'll be welcoming you and receiving you with chocolates or whatever you like. What do you eat? Chocolate, Cadbury's. Okay, Cadbury's, okay, chocolate. They treat this as a chocolate. You take this first chocolate, and then whoever comes there is offered all that, and then that whisper, it had yielded very good results. That place was full with all school dropouts. Then giving food and all the toys that they can play, they started the activity of gathering the children, actually the school dropouts, and then slowly they introduced something known as a non-formal education. You know, education can be categorized into three. What is that? Formal, non-formal and informal also. Can we consider our education as informal? No? Formal only? Oh. Do we have that teacher-taught relation established? I don't know. You're a guru. How can I treat you as my Sishya? Okay, anyway, that was a very good experiment, and you think of, you can have hundreds of such things, and this Whisper campaign was working very well with respect to those, and provided you have that commitment of slowly bringing the students and trying to yes, transform the school dropouts into formal stream, and they were running some bridge courses which have been working very well. Anyway, ultimately what has been stated is that in this particular thing, and I'm just incidentally I gave that example, whether it works well or not, and that kind of innovative ideas you may have hundreds in your mind, and you can think of and educate. And another interesting issue which we are confronted with is, I think my time is running up. Oh, 5 minutes only. What is this, madam? I don't know how best my good friends accept that. Is 5 minutes fair? Be fair and reasonable, okay? Ramya madam, please be fair and reasonable. Okay, let us bargain. 10 minutes. Please bargain with her. Okay, this ragging you all very well aware, and you shall take all such measures to establish friendly atmosphere. And this ragging and bullying, despite the fact that it has been considered as a menace which shall be curtailed, countered and dealt with iron leg. Okay, iron leg. My leg is not considered as iron leg, okay? I haven't been so strict like that, and I don't shun my students, but try to, okay, do something, whisper or smile. You try to conquer. And ragging. There was a committee pursuant to which ragging has been considered by the Supreme Court, and prevention at that age relating to this, even punishing those who are deviant, it won't yield good. Because adolescents, mostly, with whom we deal with, adolescent mind is something, so okay, standing here, I need to feel that, I need to gallop like, or that too in the sky, gallop like that hero, this heroine, this and that. They have in their mind, and as to how to prevent and all that has been what has been even laid down by the Supreme Court in this Council of Principals of Colleges. Okay, this Council of Principals of Colleges schools, they were treated, and then the other important issue which I consider is, among these, importance of integrity, transparency, fairness in decision making process, what do you consider most ideal as an educator? Transparency. Okay, there was a question about this transparency relating to evaluating answer scripts. And there are certain very strict institutions under CBSE. The rules say that there is no revaluation. Do you know that is there any revaluation for provided under CBSE? How many of you run CBSE school syllabus schools? Yeah. Revaluation. At that time it is not there. Anyway, I don't know the latest position. As a matter of fact, revaluation hasn't been prescribed. And it's not desirable also. However, there is an important development in law a very good tool to establish transparency and good governance in the country, namely Right to Information Act 2005. This boy, Aditya Bandhopadhyaya, very bright boy who wanted to check whether the teacher has evaluated properly or not. And he was claiming the copies of the answer scripts, his own answer scripts, under Right to Information Act. Then the question comes before the court, what is the kind of relationship between the teacher, evaluating teacher, and the administration? What kind of relationship is it? They say that generally all the wise men and all the laymen generally looking into the scripts and as to what is laid down. Is there any exception? How do we escape from giving information and conceal the facts? Close to our heart. Okay. One administrator was telling me, sir, when I share you something, hey, you shall not canvass about those. You keep close to your heart. Then you are part of administration. Otherwise, we need to think twice whether to share it or not. There are certain people to whom if you share the information, it's as equivalent to canvassing, broadcasting. The broadcasting corporations, you know, so many broadcasting corporations and like that. They were saying they have found an expression called fiduciary expression. There is a fiduciary relationship. Okay, see, this is what the secrecy. She wants to maintain secrecy, and you guess anything? Please keep quiet. Okay, shut up. We'll finish off. Okay, madam, kindly. Let there be a bargain, okay? 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. Oh, she's good at. They wanted to escape from providing the information under the Right to Information Act by naming the relationship between the evaluator and the administration as fiduciary relationship, which is exclusively personal, and into that nobody else is expected to encroach into. Can you name some such relationship where third party intervention is not considered as tenable? That kind of relationship is called fiduciary relationship. There is a lot of influence. It's a teacher and the taught. That is why at the beginning of my session I was mentioning that fiduciary relationship of teacher and, if you accept, the taught. Do you accept? Thanks, madam. Okay, I have an influence because if I tell her, she would do, and vice versa. A good student also can influence the teacher. Sir, please. I was telling one of my teachers, sir, please stand up and give a lecture. To my surprise, he has accepted that. I don't know why people accept. And madam, while reading the profile, she was saying that I could organize programs with the Supreme Court judges. 13 have come here. More than 50 have come here. And people wonder as to what is this? What does he do? What is that mantra? I am not revealing that because it says it could be trade secret, you know. Anyway, words only matter. I gave you a hint, I think. I gave you a hint. Okay, time does not permit and we need to skip. Here the Supreme Court was to say that that relationship between the administration and the evaluator is not fiduciary. Therefore, it cannot be considered as personal information, and therefore that too, it's his information. Whose information are you claiming? His own answer scripts he wanted to see. And why should you permit? So now, you are duty bound as the head of the institution. When you evaluate, you need to disclose the marks. Certain times we wait until the end of the semester or some time so that they won't question. It's conveniently to avoid the right to information is evaded in a way, avoided, evaded, whatever you name. And it was held even in such a strictly construed board with such rules and regulations that there is no re-evaluation and all that. Yet when the student claims, which recording? Finally, I think the lecture is recorded. Reminding something. I love to record my lectures and okay, what do you get if you record your own lecture? Briskly, you are all the educators, you can correct yourself and kindly do that to improve. Anyway, what is laid down by the Supreme Court is that every examinee, that has been put in red, madam, you love red, and
Every examinee will have the right to access his evaluated answer books by either inspecting them or take certified copies thereof, unless the evaluated answer books are found to be exempted under section 81E of the RTI Act.
Okay, anyway, hope you understood. Let us briskly pass on to the next issues. There is something, two acts are there very important. One is known as POSH Act. You must have been aware that we must create a secure environment for the women to work at the workplace. Workplace safety. For that, number of guidelines are laid down even by the Supreme Court, and at the end of the day, all the educational institutions are expected to constitute special committees. Another important aspect, a law which governs this again is POXO Act. And in that also there ought to be such facility and ease of environment created whereby if there is any grievance, a male employee also can have a grievance. Okay, there can be some love calls and all those things, teasing, eve teasing, and okay, I also receive some such calls. Okay, I tend to avoid, okay, avoid but. Under that but we can escape. Okay. Anyway, we are duty bound to create such committees. Internal Complaints Committee, ICC. Okay. Just last very odd case I am presenting. Just look at that. You can understand by the pictures, and I am also known to be a very good slide maker. Okay, look at that. Looking at that, a grown-up teacher, I think a prospective bridegroom, he wanted to marry his own student. studying 8th standard, and he offered. He chose a very good day. What is that day? Very great. I think that speaks. You can decide this case, and we can wind up by saying very grateful to you and for the patient hearing.
We'll have to.
And he is the culprit who had put me in the board. Okay, thank you very much for the patient hearing. And
Thank him. So, on behalf of all the participants gathered here, we thank our principal of Mohan Rao Bolla, our principal of Kristu College of Law.
that is the greatness of the dean.
Enlightening session. Dear participants, kindly move to the audience. Please stand. Thanks.
So you want to avoid. Thank you very much.
Yeah, kindly move to the audience.
Yeah, thank you.